Welcome, everybody. My name is David Morales. I am honored to be here today with Liseth Velez. Liseth Velez.
Yes.
She'll introduce herself, okay? So we're here with Grit Machine DNA, the podcast that tries to inspire you to do wonderful things. So, Liseth, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me here, David.
Awesome. So how do I get your name right? What is it?
I'm Liseth Velez, and I'm a passionate builder, U.S. veteran, and founder and CEO of LJV.
Awesome. I'm going to ask one more time. So who is Liseth Velez?
So, in order for me to really explain who I am, I'll share a story with you. I came to this country when I was 7 years old. I came here from Colombia, and it's like yesterday when I was coming out of Newark, New Jersey, December 13, 1997, to be exact, and you can't even imagine the feeling I had coming from Medellin, Colombia, which is the eternal spring of, the world, and being in this cold, kind of smelly place. Sorry, not to offend any Newark, New Jersey people, but it was definitely the first kind of time that made me who I was, because it's when I had like real conscious of who I was as a child. And so I would say, who am I? I'm a woman who's had a lot of different experiences, and that was probably one of the first ones that really shaped, who I am today, and what, gave me some of that strength and that self-reliance that I have today.
I love it. So let's peel that onion back, because that's what we do here at Grit Machine DNA podcast. So you mentioned coming here from Colombia. Let's talk about what shaped your experience coming here, because let me tell you, Liseth is an entrepreneur. She's a veteran. There's a lot of really cool things here that she does, so I want to peel that back. When you got to the United States, you got to New Jersey, etc., who did you come with? Why did you come? And what was happening?
Yeah, I came with my mother and my brother. I have 4 brothers, and I came with the youngest of the 3 oldest. And my father was already here with actually 2 of my other brothers. So we were reuniting ourselves. We had been separated for probably like 3 years before that. And really, we just came here for like better future, to just meet that American dream and, have a better life. Like, it's just that simple. And, I came here without knowing a peak of English. And so, I like to think that some of the first times that I really had to construct anything in life was probably the English language, really.
Wow.
And, even with my name, Liseth, understanding this other way of saying my name.
Yeah.
And you can imagine how many thes are in the English language.
Yep.
So, it was one of those times where it was just, we were reuniting. We came over from Newark to Lowell, Massachusetts. I know why they came there, right? There was a lot of work at that time. John Fabrics was booming.
That's right.
It was the textile era. And so they came here to work. My father was already working in the factories, and my mother was joining him. And so, yeah.
So you guys came to Lowell, Massachusetts, which is a great city, big place, and this was 1997?
1997, yes.
Wow, that's incredible. So what happens after that? Lowell Public Schools, I'm assuming?
Yep.
Okay, what happens after high school?
After high school, the one thing that I always knew I wanted to do, which was join the military.
Wow. Wait. Time out. Let's pause it. What? Why?
I always wanted to join the military. I actually sent a letter to a recruiter at like 12 years old. I said, can I join? And they're like, nope, you're too young. I always knew I wanted to join. I love this country so much. Like, I was just infatuated, and it was one of those things that for me just really meant like opportunity, and I just was eager. I was excited to be here, and I think that's kind of what kept me going. And so joining the military, I was in JROTC high school too, so
Wow.
I was already, trying to understand how the military worked, and really getting that sense of community, of belonging, of just having like a higher purpose.
Yeah, that's cool. So there are 2 things happening there. There's her intensity and tenacity, right? She pursued something. And then the second was interest in serving.
Oh, yeah.
Where did that come from?
I want to say that's come from being a woman, to be honest with you,
Okay,
because
let's
I
do
think that we are very nurturing, and we are taught to also be nurturing. At least I was growing up. My mother definitely valued some of the differences in gender and what each of us, kind of brought to the table as individuals. And so that was one of the things that I feel like I had control over, the fact that I could be nurturing to something, and that was like accepted. That was like a good thing for me to do.
That's cool.
And so I would say that was probably some of the seeds that planted, and throughout time, I don't know, I don't see a place where not serving people is not part of my life. It's
Wow.
like I have to, I don't know, I just have to be part of something that means something.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have to poke at the other piece too, your tenacity. Where did that come from? I mean, at 12 years old, you're like, hey, I'm in, right? Let me in here.
That comes from the not having. I think that comes from like the lack of, and just not. There's no other option. I guess it's like, if you're here, if it's like 0, then there's like nothing that could be worse, and everything is like a plus.
Yeah.
And so everything that was happening in my life was just like, it was always like a new thing, and it was something that was making my life better in a lot of ways. And so it was just one thing after another. I spoke English, and I was like, okay, that's my first thing.
Wow.
I remember having a speech therapist in 2nd grade and really trying to understand, like, how do I construct this language? How do I put these words together? To the point that I don't think I could ever speak another language other than English. I'm done. I'm done. I tried French. I tried, Portuguese. I'm like, I can say obrigado. That's it. I'm done. I'm done learning another
That's really
language.
cool. So lots of really cool elements here. Who are the people helping to shape you at that stage and shaping your tenacity, your hunger, your desire? Who did that, and who helped?
So many. But I would say it definitely started with my mother. Being an only girl and I was really wanted, like very wanted. She has 3 boys first, just because she was looking for the girl. And so I would say I got a lot of those values, a lot of that. My mom was super like disciplined, and just, we couldn't really stay angry at each other for a very long time if we fought, and just learning how to, be empathetic towards each other, and then like keeping the family together, right? Like my mother, she's so strong. Like she's probably one of the strongest people I know, and just continuously fighting and finding a way to do it, and finding a way for us to kind of stay together as a family and survive. Like I think that was probably one of the she was definitely my first, mentor / just everything, and so
awesome.
After that, I would say, the teachers, the JROTC staff, just so many different people, David, that have come to my life, and I call them
awesome.
angels, just because they've come to my life like at the right time, right place, and it's just kind of helped me elevate myself one way or the other.
Yeah, I love that. And by the way, I totally agree with you. I feel the same way. I've had many angels in my life to this day, right?
Yeah.
Come around and make me a better person. So I really love that answer. And your mom? I mean, come on. Moms in Latin America are like
Oh my God.
Superman, right?
Oh yeah, they're just incredible. And she has 5 children in the midst of just poverty and so many lack of resources, essential resources at that. And so I think that just seeing her do so much with so little, even like cooking, something as little as cooking is like, she had, it's like, you have so much food. I don't think I ever was hungry. It's like, no, I never went hungry, ever. I might have been cold a few nights, but never was hungry.
I'm with that. All right, so let's ask about your military service.
Yes.
What was that like? Which branch of the military? How long? What'd you do? And how was that?
Yeah, and so I started with the Army. I served both National Guard Army, National Guard Air Force.
Massachusetts National Guard?
Massachusetts.
Nice.
I
Okay.
wanted to join the Air Force to begin with, to be honest with you, and the Air Force.
That's not a slight to the Army.
Maybe. Look, no. Actually, the army. No, the army. I think it was the best thing that could have happened to me. I'm actually glad I went army first because I did basic training in the army, and so, I think even thinking about basic training, that graduation day, and finally seeing my mother again.
Yep.
By the way, I wasn't a good child. I wasn't a A student. I was C level, and I gave her a lot of headaches. So I remember graduating basic training and seeing her again, and she's so proud of me, right? Because it's and she wanted me to be in the military as well. She was actually a police officer in Colombia.
What?
So maybe that's where I got my,
there you go.
my service DNA.
Okay.
Yeah.
We call it grit machine DNA, and that's where it comes from. Mom, I got it.
There you go. We figured it out right here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you did Army. Then what happened next?
And then I came home. So I did 88 Mike. I was a truck driver. I wanted something.
You were a truck driver?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 88 Mike, and I really didn't have a lot of options. To be honest with you, when I graduated high school, I had a green card, and my options were very limited. Let's just say that. And so really it was just 2 options, that limited. And I said, I talked to my friend. I said, which one? Should I just be, I think it was cook or truck driver or maybe even personal, secretary or something. And he's like, you being in a truck, you're free. You can, go different places. You can drive different places. And I said, you know what? That's right. If I'm going to do something, I've always been very, free and wanting to see the world and, big imagination kind of girl. Yeah. And that was true. And I joined the Army, and I went to basic training in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and spent there 10 weeks of hell, of just good hell. Sometimes I do wish, I'm I wish I could go back.
Okay.
Just because it just is needed. I feel they beat you up. Yeah. They beat you all the way up.
Discipline, character.
Exactly. Yeah. And then it's then they build you back up. Yeah. And, at the time my drilling sergeants were coming from Iraq, 2011. So they were look, you're a soldier, you're gonna you're gonna make it happen. And so we were fighting definitely a different war. And so that was the Army side. The Army was just not my first love. My first love was the Air Force. And so I was, I spent the whole weekend in Fort Devens, 90-degree weather. There's fire ants climbing all over us. And, I was look, this is just not it. And so I ended up calling a recruiter, and I said, can I join the Air Force? And at this point now I have my citizenship, thank you to the Army and everyone at the JAG. And he said, well, we can do a conditional release, actually. And so that's what I did. I ended up being probably the only one that was able to leave the unit, and I did it. And and then once again, now it wasn't, I had limited options, not because of, my immigration, but I think it was more of that C student situation came back and hunt me. And so my ASVABs weren't that great. So they're well, now you have 5 options since you're a citizen. And I ended up going to HVAC school for 6 months and being part of the civil engineering squadron for about 6 years. And so that kind of continue on my journey of constructing in one way or the other.
Well, we're going to get to construction a bit, but what did you learn? If you had to distill your military experience, your service, what were the top 2 or 3 things that you got out of it?
The importance of leadership. It was it's really that simple. I think that this world definitely is lacking leaders. That I think, what makes you a good leader is having, a good sense of accountability, and also being able to learn from many different people. I've had bad leaders, I've had really great leaders. But it's always that sense of what it leaves behind and the impact, right? Because every interaction we have, whether we like it or not, it's leaving something behind, right? It's leaving an experience for somebody else. So, for me, it's now that I find myself in a very much a super leadership role. I have to make sure that, I am trying to be the best leader I can be. And so the military gave me all of those soft trainings and real trainings. I mean, I went to Airman Leadership School. The Air Force is huge on leadership. And so it really brought it all together, and it made everything even make more sense at that point when I realized that, we have to work together. We have to find better ways to communicate with each other.
Absolutely.
So
I couldn't agree more.
yeah.
Especially in a world where people are now be so divisive. I
Right.
couldn't agree with you more. So let's talk about what you do professionally.
Yes.
Let's do it. Dive in. What do you do?
So we like to. Our mission is simple. We say we like to.
Who's we?
We is the LJV team, and we build spaces and places so that working and living are just better. And so this is something that is like full circle moment, right? I went from kind of eliminating people or being part of a situation or a organization that that's very much a part of to really just focusing on how do we bring people together, and that's what construction is all about. We do a lot of deferred maintenance, renovations, build-ups, federal contracting, commercial as well. But really the essence of what we do is that putting teams together to build things and making sure things get done. And so now I have around 15, 16 employees, give and take, and so it's 16 families to feed, and but and also to see grow and to see so much evolution happen within our organization. So that's who I am professionally.
Okay, so let's peel that onion back. No, this is important. Again, we're here to inspire people, right?
Yeah.
This is, Liseth, you immigrant, came here with a dream and a vision, and you're doing it, right? And so I like to explain to you how that happened. So you founded a construction company. Like what? How did that happen?
It was really a civil engineering squadron that planted that seed. We did construction pretty much all over the world, and I was my background is mechanical engineer and HVAC technician, but I was doing everything. I was doing demo. I was helping out with just different trades and just different people, and so that ability to just learn different things is kind of what led me to starting LJV. And I would say now it has really evolved to so much more. Like now it's like, okay, well, we can bring more people in. We work with a lot of trade partners, a lot of subcontractors, and so, LJV team is pretty small, and I do want to continue to have a small business. It's important for me to really know my team members and really like know them. It's not just like work-life balance, right? So much of your life is your work,
Right.
and so it's really important that my employees have some type of sense of that I know what's going on in their life, because if something's going on, then I want to know about it so we can talk about it, and we can kind of come to solutions on how we can work together. And so, not only my employees are part of our ecosystem, but also our subcontractors. They're the ones that do all the work. They're the ones that make us look good, and those relationships are equally important. And so, I think right now it's just like we're kind of trying to pass it forward. We are a prime contractor in most of our contracts, so we have a lot of power in that sense, because we hold the contract, and therefore we can now see who do we want to do business with. And so I'm seeing it as an opportunity to hopefully elevate more people and see if more people can find some financial freedom. I mean, I'm not there yet, but I'm on my way.
Hey, you're building, but you're building. I love it.
Yeah.
So how did it happen? I mean, you went from military service to all of a sudden being a civilian, quote unquote, right? How did it happen? Did you just one day wake up and say, I'm going to build a company? Like, how did that happen?
No. 2018 happened. I was coming back home from a deployment, and I was coming back home from Djibouti, and I was seeing what a lot of the federal contractors were doing at the base, which was not doing the right thing and how it was affecting the mission.
Wow.
And so one of the things I saw was that, well, I learned that I could do it too, that I could also be a federal contractor.
Yeah.
And so that was really I had already, started the LJV brand.
Wow.
I've been an entrepreneur, honestly, my whole life. And it just happened.
Yeah.
It's not like it just happened,
Well,
but
I'm going to push back a little bit. What I love about the story is the impetus for this was you saw a problem
yes.
and you had a solution.
Yeah.
You believed, because that's important, you believed deeply that you could address the problem better than the contractor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There was no doubt in my
Yeah.
head that I could
Yeah.
do that. And
But that's a lesson, Liseth, right?
Yeah.
That's a lesson for listeners or folks that are either watching or listening. You want something, go after it. I mean, she had the expertise and experience to say, wait, I can do that better. And I have the skill set and the contacts and the tenacity to do it. And she did it, right? I mean, that's a lesson right there. Like, it's a
Yeah.
whole book right there. That's awesome. Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
today you have employees, you have people that depend on you, you have contracts. I'm going to pivot away from work
Sure.
right after this question. What is the most rewarding part of what you do today?
Seeing the growth, seeing the, like hitting those milestones, right? We're very process oriented at LGV, and so we have all these goals. So just meeting those goals and doing it with a team,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
that's one thing of being successful and being, great or whatever the case may be. But there's one thing of getting there with your actual village. So I'm trying to get there with as many people as possible. And so that's what keeps me going. My family works with me. I have just so many people that are in our team that are just amazing people that I just want everyone to succeed. If
That's
I'm
awesome.
succeeding, everyone can succeed.
awesome.
And, in construction, there's so much work to be done that there's, the way I see it, there's like no competitors. Like, we have a lot of work. We need to work together. We need to try to work smarter and get these projects done because, we depend on our infrastructure. And I mean, look, we wouldn't be sitting in this beautiful office if it wasn't for somebody having the vision to create a building like this. So construction has a lot of impact, in communities and how people feel as well. And so when I was going through who LJV was going to be, it was really important for us to have some, philanthropic impact in some shape or form. Like, it needed to have purpose. Like, one of our values is purpose.
Okay. I like that. No, that's good. That's important.
Yeah, and so
The why. Right?
Yeah,
What's
of
the why?
course. Yeah, and so it's like when I go to, like the projects and I see these buildings that have no real HVAC or, they don't have an elevator that works, like that really affects that family's day to day. And so I hope that, everyone has like a type of equal environment that they can really flourish. And so that's why we say, just working better and living is better. It's like simple. It's not so people can live exaggerated. It's not so people can live, in ugly places. And so people can just like live better. And so I'm fortunate enough now, I've lived in many different places, as you can imagine, and I'm fortunate enough now to live in a place that helps me be the best I can be. And so I'm really nourished that, and that's what keeps me going, and it keeps me fighting for us to continue to be successful.
That's awesome. So I'm going to pivot into a different realm here. I met you at a non-for-profit organization named Cristo Rey High School in Boston, an organization that you and I are both passionate about. And one of the things that I've learned about you is you're very passionate about both serving but also giving.
Yeah.
You're an entrepreneur, business owner, founder, veteran. How do you balance time? How do you manage your time? Out of all that you do, how do you manage time?
I have more hours in the day.
I wish I did.
No, I prioritize. I prioritize what I have to do. Not everything is an emergency. I try not to let my business dictate who I am. You know, LJV is, you know, its own, the way I see it, like breathing organism, and it has a team of amazing
Yeah.
people that make it so I can be here with you today. Not having, I don't even think my phone has rung since I've been here. You know, it's like incredible, and you know, it's all those things.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. So you, important lesson there, prioritize your time, and time is a valuable asset.
that it's the one, you know, non-renewable resource that we have. And so yeah, and just, you know, I appreciate those, well, I'm learning to appreciate those days that are more calm, and you know, I meditate, I do yoga, I try to stay balanced, stay grounded, and just stay true to the things that really matter, because there's so many shiny objects, especially as you know, as you're in this different spaces where there's so much success and so much stuff going around, that I just really try to, you know, get to the root. I'm a very systems person. You know, maybe the military just brainwashed
what
me. I don't know.
No, but that's important, right? What's the mission?
Yeah,
right?
you know,
What's
like, let's have a strategic plan. You know, let's, you know, how are we gonna go about this? So I'm just very focused on where we go, you know, who we are and where we're supposed to do and what we gotta do. And so I don't like to waste time. I don't like to talk about silly things. I hate small talks. You know, I love to be around people. I love to just get to really know people for who, because we're so much more, right? You know, when that question came up of like, who are you? I'm like, I'm so many things, right? I'm so many that you can't even, you know, kind of count them. So
Totally
I
agree.
think that just even like having the idea of like not being something and being open, because that's one thing I've learned through life, is that you are this person here, but you know, either you're growing or you're dying. I personally want to be growing, and so I have to be okay with being okay with not being like the same Liseth as I was last year. And if anything, like, I embrace it. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to continuously learn from other people, and just how can we do it better? How can, you know, maybe there's a different way. You know, I always like to think, you know, what if there was a different way to do it?
Yeah.
So,
You talked about meditating, Liseth. What's the role of faith in your life?
I am a Catholic. I'm a believer. I have a lot of faith. I believe in the universe. I'm a very spiritual person. I believe that, you know, love is really the key to a lot of different things. And so I respect anyone, right? Of course, like whatever, you know, whatever it is that you want to believe in. But I do believe that you have to believe in something if you really want to make it in this world, because this world has a lot of ups and downs.
Yes,
and
it
so
does. Every day.
Yep, and so how do you, if you don't have anything to hold on to, I think that's a really scary place to be. And so I'm a proud Catholic. I try to go to church almost every Sunday. I've been bad, can't lie. But, you know, I try my best, and I see our communities. I go to church in Everett, Massachusetts, and, you know, I see how we are coming together, and we're all kind of praying for the same thing, which is like a better life and better futures. Like, you know, so
That's awesome. I'm going to poke at a few different things that are interconnected. Well, you've mentioned a couple of really interesting things that I think will interest people. One is you mentioned the American dream earlier. What does that mean?
That means you, like, anything is possible. Anything is possible. You can do anything you set your mind to be, especially, you know, I can go back to being a woman. Hey, it's Women's History Month, so I got my Women and Veterans Network pin here, because
That's
it's
awesome.
like, look,
all good.
It's a lot. We just got to vote like in the 1960s. Like, I don't think people realize how much we've progressed, we've evolved as a society to really appreciate what women bring to the table. But we're nowhere near close. Like, we have a lot of work to do in that space. So I
Oh, good.
That answers
Oh,
the
good.
question.
No, I asked what you said. You mentioned the American dream.
Yeah,
I want to hear from your perspective. What is that?
I believe it's just being able to accomplish anything that you can
There
accomplish.
you go.
And so
Okay.
I talk about being a woman because I think there's still to this day a lot of women that can't even vote, in certain places of the world. So that to me is like what America stands for, that
Yeah.
freedom, that
Yep.
opportunity.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of, different things that maybe we don't have here, but when
Yeah.
I compare it to Medellin, when I compare it to Djibouti, when I compare it to some of these places, it's like it could be a lot worse.
Oh, yeah,
It could
no
be a lot
question.
worse. And so
Yeah.
for me, the American dream is just having that freedom,
Yeah.
really is. And especially as a veteran, I don't take that for granted because, I'm so grateful just to be able to walk outside and feel like I don't have to take off my watch, or I don't have
Yep.
to worry about, if I'm in the phone.
Oh, yeah.
And those are things that are really real in certain places. And so
Yep.
that to me is the American dream. I'm already
Yeah.
living it. And so when people
Yeah.
ask me, like, what is, how you do it? I'm like, living the American dream.
Yep.
And shoot, I am a federal contractor that, gets paid like by the United States government, to do some of
Yeah.
these contracts. And so just being part of the mission, being able to serve.
Yep.
Because I remember when I left the military, it was so many mixed emotions. I always thought I was going to retire, and just kind of feeling that grief of like lost, right?
Yeah.
Because I thought, oh my God, like, I'm not going to be able to be with these individuals anymore. And the veteran community is so strong.
Very.
There's so many just wonderful people that
Yeah.
are continuing to serve in so many different
Yep.
ways. And so that's what I believe the American dream is all
Yeah.
about.
Love that.
It's not
that.
complicated. It's not a
Yeah.
picture. It's not a thing. It's
Yeah.
just a feeling.
Love that. In my book, American Familia, I talked about the American dream.
Yeah.
Because for me, growing up watching my grandfather, that's what it meant. My grandfather retired from the military after service. He retired from his company, Inland Steel, and Bethlehem Steel. And he was in our
Wow,
neighborhood.
he was a steel worker?
He was a steel worker.
Wow.
And in
God
our
bless him.
neighborhood, he was the guy. When I was a young kid in Puerto Rico, he was the guy. And that's
Right.
what it meant for me. Wow, I want to be like Grandpa, right? When I was a young kid. And now, fast forward, I want to be like my father. My father retired, and he raised an incredible family. And
Yeah.
that's my dream. I want to raise an incredible family, too.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that answer. And the last thing I'll say is, I love your point, perspective, right? Go to another country, and there's nowhere else on earth like the United States of America. None.
Yeah.
Zero. So I love your perspective. That's an important point for everybody. Get perspective. If you think it's hard here,
Yeah.
go overseas. Spend some time overseas. It's a whole different planet. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Now, this is a question that I ask everybody, Liseth, as I go to end and wrap up. You're sitting here. You've had an incredible career so far. Founder, entrepreneur, veteran, awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Resilient. You use the term, one of the terms I use, self-agency. You called it personal responsibility. I think
Self-reliance.
Self-reliance.
Yes, yes.
So all about that, right? But sitting here, what advice would you give to 12-year-old Liseth?
I would say, wow, 12-year-old is 12 is a hard year, especially for a young woman. I just be kinder to yourself. What I realized throughout life is that I'm like this mapper investigator, and so I just, I would have told her, like, continue to be that, continue to be that investigator, and continue to map things and make sense of things and put things together. So that's what I would tell her. And I still have conversations with my inner child all the time, because it's like, there's a lot of work sometimes that needs to happen. And being a child is just so, like, those years are just so important, and they shape so much of who you are. So I always try to go back and just continue to be kinder to.
What advice would you give to kids today?
I would Oh God. I would tell them to get off TikTok.
You and me both.
No, there is just so much more
Yeah.
to life.
Yeah.
Get out there, smell the roses, breathe some fresh air, go back to nature, appreciate nature.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of kids. I do like working with kids. And I know there's a lot of kids that are out there doing a lot of those amazing things. I hate when people just put them
Right.
all in like
Generalization.
No. Like, look, I love you, Jen, whatever you are. I think we're in like Z right now, whatever's
Yeah.
coming next. But it's a hard time, but that doesn't mean you don't have to be self-reliant. You don't have to have that accountability, and know that ultimately is the decisions that you make that will make everything else happen. So I would just say get out there, smell the fresh air, and your choices do have impact. So
Yes.
just make them wisely.
I love that. Choices have consequences.
Oh, yeah.
Make good choices.
Yeah.
Love that advice.
Yeah.
Last question.
Sure.
What is your purpose?
My purpose. I am a synergistic leader.
What does that mean?
I like to just combine and intertwine different ideas and people, and I want to just elevate people as much as I can. And I feel like there could be a world. I mean, I know this sounds like Disneyland kind of thing, but no, I think there could be a world, like if we actually did break some of those barriers, like mental barriers, right, that we put on ourselves, and we could have better conversations. We can have some of these more of these dialogues. Then we could be better to people. We could be more empathetic to people. We can learn to be more patient. And don't get me wrong, David, that's something that I have to tell myself, especially if if a subcontract lady is like, be more patient. But it's like we're all humans, and I do truly believe that a lot of us are trying our best. That we're trying the best that we know what to do with. So my purpose is to hopefully leave the world a little bit better. And so I am a leader. I'm a leader that if if there's choices that need to be made, like, you can count on me to make them, because I will make them. And I have no problem with that, because in life you can't just pass the buck, right? You can't just be like, oh, it's that person's responsibility. I think if it's something within your power, if there's something that you can do about something, then do it. And just don't make excuses.
I love it. Personal responsibility. Own your path, own your career, own your outcomes, and make good choices. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Liseth Velez, guys, check her out at LJV. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Grit Machine DNA podcast. Check out our website, www.davidamorales.com, and check her out. She's doing some incredible things. Thank you for joining us today, Liseth.
Thank you, David.
Si vives día a día en un abismo de dolor y buscas solución a tus problemas, busca del Señor y sigue su camino, y pronto nacerá la paz en tu corazón. Y con la paz del Señor yo he vencido mi temor, y yo vivo victorioso por su amor. Y con la paz del Señor yo he vencido mi temor, y yo vivo victorioso por su amor. Si vives día a día en un abismo de dolor y buscas solución a tus problemas, busca del Señor y sigue su